Hi, this is Dr. Harris Jensen, and I'd like to talk about a new book I've written. It's a free book. It's called How to Break the Cycles of Mental Illness. And I think this book is needed. Why? Well, there's rising rates of depression and anxiety in this country and in many countries throughout the world since COVID. Why is that? Well, people are caught in cycles and they don't even know it. And so I write about these cycles in my book. One cycle is you think in anxiety provoking ways, not knowing it, and then you get anxious. One example might be dwelling on the state of the world, maybe the war in Ukraine or global warming. And you can still care about the world and care about Ukraine, but you don't have to think about it 24/7. You can stop that overthinking. And one method is the grounding method. I go over this in my book. You can say, what's one thing I'm seeing, one thing I'm hearing, one thing I'm tasting, one thing I'm touching, and that gets your brain back to the here and now reality rather than daydreaming about something else. Other topics I cover in my book are also really important. Uh, One question is, should I see a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a nurse practitioner? And so these topics are talked about in chapter 1. But if you don't know in general how a psychologist and psychiatrist are different, you might go to the psychiatrist hoping for some real in-depth psychotherapy, and they don't do that, or many don't. You might go to the psychologist hoping to get on a medicine, but they don't prescribe. And so it's good to know what the differences are between those providers. And in one situation, you might be best served with a psychiatrist. Another situation might be best served with a psychologist. Do they treat people differently? No, but the way they approach things is different. And I go over how doctors think. There's biological, psychological, and social issues that all feed into anxiety or depression. It's not just take a medicine and feel better. You have to learn to manage these other issues too, or the medicine or the counseling won't work. Other chapters are, is alternative medicine better than traditional Western medicine? And sometimes yes, sometimes no. I go over the details. How do you find a psychologist? How do you find a psychiatrist? So I go over using Google and other search engines. What do you look for when you find the website of a psychologist or psychiatrist? So I go over how to research that and what things to look for, what things to look for in reviews on Google about different providers. And what about if you're afraid of seeing a provider to begin with? So some people are they feel like this is crazy to see a psychiatrist or a psychologist. Only crazy people do that. No, smart people do that because psychiatrists and psychologists are experts at solving emotional issues or medical issues such as ADD. Um, I talk about how is ADD diagnosed. You might not feel sad, just emotionally empty, and you might have depression. Uh, you might at times feel really happy and other times feel sad, and that might be bipolar disorder. Why is it important to have the correct name? Well, antidepressants don't work for bipolar depression because bipolar is something completely different from major depression. But if you didn't know that, yeah, you might go to a family doc and try Prozac, then Lexapro, untreated or undertreated. Depression has a 1 in 3 risk of suicide. It's a major contributor to failure in relationships and work and school. Why is that? There's many different chemical imbalances in the brain with depression, not just one. It slows down the memory center, it slows down the attention center, so you literally physically can't focus like you used to, can't remember like you used to. It can make the anxiety center overreactive compared to how things used to be. And so it's a good idea to take care of that. Otherwise, that's a ball and chain you have to carry around. And so I go over reasons why um, it's smart to take care of yourself. Seeing a counselor, taking a medicine is just another way of taking care of yourself. If you had a headache that was real bad or sinus pain that was real bad, you'd see a doctor. Get on a medicine if need be. And so take care of your brain like you would any other part of your body. And there can be many things going on you're just not aware of. There may be many different ways of taking care of insomnia, depression, anxiety that you're not aware of. And so a book like this is like opening up a toolbox. Here's all these tools that other people have found really work. And so check out Breaking the Cycle of Mental Illness, share it with your friends. Education is a great way to beat back the stigma of mental illness and the stigma of taking care of a mental illness. And so this is Dr. Harris Jensen with a review of Break the Cycles of Mental Illness. To access the book, you can go to my website, harrisjensenmd.com, and then click the Books tab, and